This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. I'm Karyn Beach, your host for the Journey Step by Step Christian podcast. Today we're talking testimony, and specifically we're talking my testimony from the year that was 2019. We're at the end of the year, and normally we're focused on the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and all of that. But we also take time during this time to kind of reflect on the year that's passed us by. In this year, in my life, 2019, I've learned a lot and I've grown a lot. I've grown as a Christian, I've grown as a woman, and I've grown closer to the Lord because of the events of this year. And anyone that's been through anything knows that that kind of growth doesn't happen during smooth sailing. It happens when the waters are rough and choppy, when there's a few storms that come your way. And that has been true for me. But right now, as I record this episode, things seem to have calmed down a little bit, and I've learned a lot. As I said, I've learned, I've grown as a Christian, I've grown closer to the Lord, and I wanted to share my experiences and what I learned along the way. So let's get started, and we'll start at the beginning of the year. 2017 was another difficult year. I was downsized. I was out of work. I finally found work, and the year ended on a high note, and that continued into 2018 until the end of January. And my coworker had left, and I could go into a lot of things about office politics and this and that, but I won't. Suffice to say, on February 1st, I was called into my boss's office and told that my project management skills were lacking and that I needed to make a plan and that I would have 28 days to improve my project management skills or else I'd be out of work. So on day 21, February 21st, I believe it was that Friday, I had finished a major project and I had just turned it in to my boss. She came over to my desk. She said she liked my work. What I had done was good. And she really liked the creativity, blah, 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 blah. So I'm thinking I'm on a good track. An hour later, I'm out of work. So I'm out of work. I go home. I apply for unemployment immediately. And I'm told that it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks for them to get back to me. Now, as I said, I had been out of work for a substantial period in 2017. So it's not like I had a bunch of money sitting around that was going to take me through this time period. So I was nervous and upset, to say the least. And I went home, I applied, I started looking for work immediately that day. But I was nervous, so I prayed, Lord, I need some help. I don't know what I'm going to do for the next 6 to 8 weeks. I don't have family that can help me. I don't have friends that can help me. I'm single. I have no significant other. So things were looking very, very dire. That Tuesday, I went to the mailbox and had a check for $2,800. $2,800 from, of all places, unemployment. Well, it seems the year before I had applied for unemployment and they never got back to me. about whether I had it or not. Luckily, I found other work eventually. I had a bonus at that time that I could live off of, and that's what I did. So now they're like, oh, you applied for unemployment. We forgot to give you this $2,800 last year. So I'm like, thank you, Lord. I tithed off of it and lived off of it for the next 2 months. I had that. And then I gotten days before some random letter from State Farm, who does my car insurance and my house insurance. And I didn't even bother to open it. On one particular day, something told me to open it. It was a check for $400 because apparently along the line somewhere I had overpaid. And I'm like, Lord, are you serious? So I'm getting money out of the woodwork. And it did take them a full 6 weeks to get back to me. But because I had that money, I was able to pay my mortgage for several months, my car note for several months, and all my bills. However, when my unemployment started, which is $300 a week, I was next to not having any money. And I have this $300, and I'm like, okay, but the way it is with $300, I can't even pay my house note and my car note for 1 month with $1,200. So I'm trying to do what I can, and I'm applying for jobs. And I have amazing first phone interviews for all of them. I answer all the questions. I'm doing what I got to do. And then I'm getting the thanks but no thanks email. So at this point, I'm beyond frustrated because as an instructional designer, which means I create e-learnings, I write job aids and things like that, I'm very good at what I do. And from this point, from the time I lost my job up until now, I don't understand why this is happening because I'm good at what I do. I know how to do what I can do. And it doesn't make sense. And I prayed about it and I thought, why is this happening to me? I'm good at what I do. I'm very good at what I do. And you can ask anybody. Karyn Beach knows how to do what she does, and she does it well. And a little voice said, but who gave you that ability? And I realized at that point that it wasn't about me. It was about me giving credit to the person who gave me the ability to write, who gave me the creativity that I needed, who gave me the ability to catch on to things quickly and to process information. It wasn't all about me. It was about me giving honor to the person, the Lord, who gave these things to me and who made all of this possible. So I needed to be more thankful and not so much centered around me. I'm an only child, super extrovert. It's one of the things that I struggle with because it's easy for me to make things about me, to have things focus on me. But I had to learn not to do that. That was probably the first important thing I learned, that it's not all about me and what I can do, because I can't do anything outside of the Lord. And I said a prayer at this point that really scared me, but it had to be done. And that prayer was simple. Not my will, but yours, Lord. Not my will, but yours. And I don't know what his will is. I know what I want. I know how things need to work out for Karyn, but I don't know if that is what the Lord wants for me. So being a person who's used to navigating her own course, going this way, going that way, making this decision, having my confidence based on what I can do, it was hard for me to say, not my will, Lord, but yours. I don't know why, Lord, I'm getting turned down for all these jobs, but your will, not mine. And that is my first major lesson. And I said that, and I would love to say that things miraculously changed, but they didn't. I still didn't have a job. I still was going back and forth, trying to figure out how I was going to make things happen. So I got a contracting job working from home for what I was making about 12 years ago. And not being a numbers person, I thought, well, I can make less money because I'm working from home. So I won't have gas expenses. I'll be able to eat at home. I won't be eating out as much. So I can do this. But I didn't really sit down and look at how much money I was not making. And I wasn't really making enough to keep me afloat. What I made 12 years ago was okay, but since 12 years had passed, I had accumulated 12 more years of expenses, and then there was 12 years of inflation. So it's not like I was making that. I was making even less than I made at that time. And at this time, right before I started this job, or as soon as I started this job, my hot water heater stopped working. So here I am with next to no money, taking cold water showers and not having any money. And it might seem like, well, you had money, but here's what happened. And I hate to admit this. I'm so bad with money that my account was severely overdrawn. And when I say severely, I worked that first week on this job, and after my direct deposit hit, I had $7. That's how overdrawn my account was. I had $7, and I did need gas, and I needed groceries. And so I had to humble myself. The same girl that got money out of the blue in February, now in May, had to go to the church and say, I don't have any money. I need to eat. I need gas. And they gave me gas card. I think 2 gas cards and 2 Walmart gift cards. So I could get groceries in my house and gas in my car. For someone who has been very arrogant, very sure of herself, the fact that I had to actually show up in the church with my hand out to get help was humbling. It was completely humbling. I was grateful, though, because I could do that. I was grateful that they had that program at the church that was able to help me when I needed help. But that doesn't mean it was easy, because believe me, it was not. Around the same time, end of May, I went on to LinkedIn and I had a message from a guy that owned a contracting company. And he was like, well, I have a job. I would love for you to come in and talk about this job. And, this is the pay rate. And I looked at that pay rate and I said, get the heck out of town. There's no way you're going to pay me that much money to do what I'm doing. Mind you, I have a job doing something similar now, making what I made 12 years ago. And now you're telling me that you're going to pay me what I was making at my last job plus for doing the same thing. That doesn't make sense. But I'll go up to the interview. If I hadn't gotten that gas card from my church, I would not have had the gas to go all the way up to this interview north of the city. I wouldn't have had it. But I had that. I got into a cold shower, got dressed, and went to this interview. What I thought was an interview. When I got there, he's like, this is the person you're going to be working with. This is what we'll have you do. You'll have the offer letter, by the close of business. And the people were nice. Everything seemed really good. And I went back to my car and I sat there for a minute and I asked myself this question. Did I just get a job? Did I just get this job? And sure enough, by the end of the day, I got the offer letter. The only problem was that the start date was tentative. They gave me a tentative start date. I'm not going to say anything to this little job that I do have, that I am working, until I have a permanent date. Something kept saying, don't say that. And the Lord, and let me be honest, every time you say something told you that, we know who the something is. And that's something I need to work on because I say that often. Something told me that. What told me was the Lord. The Lord said, don't say anything until you get a permanent start date. So glad I did. That start date on that letter came and went. Several weeks passed and I still heard nothing about this job. I had managed somehow, found a good plumber who gave me a reasonable rate, fixed my water heater for next to nothing. Thank you, Lord. And that's even a story because I prayed about it. The Lord said, call Cody. And I said, okay. The next morning, something said, and this time it wasn't the Lord, you don't need to call him, call somebody else. So I found someone else and I called them and they gave me this exorbitant amount to come even look at my heater. They're like, we're going to charge you $100 just so we can get in the car and come over to you. To look at it, we're going to charge you another $100. Oh, and then maybe if we fix it, that'll be another amount of money. So I called Cody. He came over there. He told me what was wrong, showed me how I could fix it myself, was in and out in less than an hour for $80. And I had hot water. Over the moon at something so basic, but I had it. So I have hot water, but I still don't have this great job because the start date hadn't come in. And the Lord said, why don't you fast and pray? Which prompted a conversation between me and the Lord. Lord, I've never fasted before. You should try fasting and praying. Well, what if I do a Daniel fast? Okay, that'll do. So I did a 3-day Daniel fast. I started on a Sunday and did Tuesday night. And I told myself, because my Achilles heel was trashy TV shows. So I was like, I'm not going to watch any trashy TV. I'm going to only listen to Christian music, watch Christian shows, Christian YouTube videos for 3 days and, eat my fruits and vegetables, drink my water. So I did this all day Sunday. I did it all day Monday. Halfway through Tuesday, I go to check my email. And for the first time in over a month, I have an email from the president of the company that offered me the job. And he had a tentative date for August. So I was going to start my job in August. So I was able to give my notice to my other job. They wanted me to keep working. For a while, I tried to do both, but it got to be a little much. So here I am now, working my job, working 2 jobs, and things seem to be working their way out. I've got a lot of money to catch up on, though. So all of my money is spent getting caught up on my mortgage, my car payments, all the things that I've fallen behind on. And it was on this time, I'm going to treat myself to a movie. I go in the garage to get my car, and my garage is partially flooded. Why is it flooded? Because that water heater that didn't want to work before has now ruptured, broken, it's leaking, and my plumber came back. He told me what I needed to do, which was get a new unit. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is all that money that I've have earmarked. I now have to redo so that I can get another hot water heater, which I did. And at this point, because of what had happened before with the job and me fasting and praying, I had that. But when that water heater broke, I just prayed about it. I didn't get really upset like I would have before, because one of the things this year has taught me is that doesn't help anything. It might feel good for a minute, but I just said, Lord, I need your help with this. And again, it didn't happen overnight. I still waited 2 weeks to get my hot water heater fixed. But I had a friend that let me take showers at her house. I was able to make a way when it seemed like I didn't have a way. And I tried to stay as much as possible in gratitude. Thank you for Bev for letting me be able to shower at her house. Thank you, Lord, that this happened in the summer and not in the winter when that water would have been unbearably cold. Thank you for everything you've done for me. And thank you that I have a job that makes paying for this possible. I have to wait till my next check, but when that check comes, I'm able to fix this and take care of that. So, Lord, for that, I thank you. I thank you for fasting and praying and getting my answer to that question, when am I going to start work? I had a lot to be grateful for, and for that, I was thankful. So over this year, what have I learned? I've learned several things. First, to be humble and give credit where credit is due. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about how great I am, how talented I am. It was about but the Lord who gave me those talents, skills, and abilities. Number 2, it was about humbling myself before the Lord and admitting that I needed help when I needed help. My church family was there for me when I needed help with more than just prayers, with tangible gas cards, food when I needed it. And then really focusing on the Lord when I fasted and prayed to get the answers that I was looking for. And realizing that even though it might not happen at the snap of a finger, the Lord is taking care of me. And that's what I learned when I went through that whole water heater debacle. So here I am now at the end of the year. And right now, my struggle, so to speak, is with the devil, who is in my ear telling me, yeah, this is a great job, but it's a contract job. It could end at any time. You could end up right back where you were. And him trying to instill fear and worry within me. And so what I have to do is to keep fighting back against that. So often when we have those voices in our heads that tell us these negative things, we let that voice go. Instead of saying, no, I'm the head, not the tail. You're not going to derail me. I'm going to be okay, just like I have all year, regardless of what happens. And on my job, I get kudos. Things are going well, but that voice is there. And I always have to put on the armor of God and fight it. That breastplate of faith comes in handy because I need that to counter that voice in my head, that voice from the enemy that's in my head trying to manufacture things to worry about, things to be concerned about. Instead, I need to, and what I've been trying to do is be faithful and be thankful. So when I hear that, well, this job could end any day, I say, but you know what? I'm grateful. The Lord is good. He is good, and He's provided for me, and He's brought me this far, and I have no reason to doubt. I have nothing to fear that He's not going to take me the rest of the way. So that's pretty much been my year. It's been an incredible time period, but it's been important. Now, the other thing that I started on day one of the year is doing reading the Bible in a year. And I'm almost done. I've stayed on top of it. And next year, once my year of reading the Bible is done, next year I'm going to focus on prayer and meditation. That will be my theme for my Bible study next year. So that's my story. I hope you got something out of it. To me, the only reason to go through something is to share it and hopefully help other people. So hopefully I've done that for you and given you something to think about. Go ahead and visit me over on the Journey step-by-step Facebook page. You can find me on Instagram, and let me know how your year has been and what struggles you've overcome and what you're still struggling with. So we can pray for you. We can help you get through. Remind you that God is an awesome God, and He will see you through regardless of what you're going through. So that's all I wanted to say. So next time we'll have someone else's testimony, and hopefully you've learned something from this and you'll learn something from that. So until next time, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Thank you.